First candidate today to speak to us has a lot of traveling to do today, so we wanted to get him up here as soon as possible. I'd like to introduce you to Joel Shapiro, candidate for State Senate, District 5.
So, how's Texas doing? Not so great. Texas ranks 50th in high school completion, 50th in voter turnout, the highest number of people uninsured without health care in the country, and the second highest number of uninsured children. 6.3 million adults in Texas are uninsured. 1.2 million children are uninsured. And my opponent wants to keep it that way. He supported the governor in turning down Medicaid expansion and give away about $79 billion of your federal tax dollars. And it gets worse. Texas ranks dead last in the nation for women who have health insurance, and second lowest in women who have prenatal care in the first trimester. Yes, my opponent's working very hard to keep it that way. Texas also ranks fourth highest in the nation for women living in poverty. Texas has one of the worst records in the country for equal pay for women, and my opponent voted to keep it that way. Texas ranks 44th in high school graduation rate, 47th in SATs, and yet Texas investment per student is 27%, which is one of the lowest in the U.S. In Texas, only 17% of students ever earn a bachelor's degree. And yet, our government here decided to take $5.4 billion of money away from our children's education. That resulted in 25,000 fewer classroom teachers. In my own district, in my own neighborhood, there was a school that was completed 3 years ago. That school today stands shuttered and is still empty and is not open. And yes, my opponent worked to make sure that happened. Texas has made it nearly impossible for poor, working class, and rural women to obtain proper health services. Restrictive action supported by my opponent has made it impossible for Texas women to get services like Planned Parenthood freely. Not so great, huh? Today we've talked about three major problems here in Texas, and they're all a result of my opponent being in the state Senate. We've weighed his record, we've looked at women's rights, we've looked at health care, and we've looked at education. And when we weigh his history, we find him coming up one. If what you really want is change, and what you really want is real integrity in Austin, then vote for me. I promise you that I'll fight for women's rights, and I'll fight for a quality public education for our children, and I'll fight for health care for all Texans. I'm Joel Shapiro, and I'm your candidate for the Texas State Senate.